we're changing this a little bit from previous years. So the reports on the breakout sessions is going to take place outside this room over cocktails. So we're not doing it as a panel discussion, but grab the person who was in a panel that you weren't in and talk to them. We just have a couple things that we want to go through. I like to manage people's expectations. So basically, we are going to introduce you to a new person we had this year, Romella, the Wrangler, who really kept things going. Then I have Dustin, who honestly did 99% of the work next to Romella doing the 1%. And then Ethan, who's not on stage. I want to thank you, and Jolly for always being here for us. And then as a note, we lost some friends this year who were really integral to the work that we've done with IGF, so we're just going to take a moment to have some people remember them. So we're asking for about another 10-15 minutes of your time, and then the other thing that we're going to close with is Dustin's going to give you a look at what IGF-USA, the future 2018 and beyond is going to look like, with a look at some of the work he's done this year and what we're looking to do. So, Wrangler, you want to start?
So I'll make it quick. I want to briefly talk about the multi-stakeholder process. I'm certain today you probably have heard that phrase millions of times, or maybe it just feels like a million times. As Shane said, I'm fairly new to the IGF, and this is actually my second year being involved. Last year, I had the poor taste of actually complaining about how messy the process felt to me. I felt that we should have been, kind of further along than we actually were. And so Shane, in her infinite wisdom, this year said to me, okay, you complained last year, so step up and help. And so I got crowned the Wrangler. So thank you for that opportunity. Thank you. My background is not in IT. I work with data, I do research, that's kind of my day job. But having been a victim of numerous data breaches, I frankly got a little angry. And I wanted to figure out how I could be involved. But besides being angry, I really do like the internet. I love me some Twitter. And I like the internet. I think it's cool. So I kind of, poked around and found my way in, and have had the opportunity to become involved and to really try and make a contribution. And I think that that is the strength of the multi-stakeholder process, that people who are not IT people can come and be heard. It's a place for business, regulators, and consumers to come together and think about things to try and find solutions. Despite being slow and maybe messy, it works. Today I think it is an example of where it worked. A lot of different people from a lot of different sectors, including just individual contributors such as myself, worked on developing this program that you were here to enjoy today, and I think IGF-USA 2018 has been a success. And so the multi-stakeholder process can work and produce results. I think it provides an opportunity for business, again, regulators and customers to come together to discuss solutions. I think that you can see that the program developed had input from all, and there were really great ideas shared. I was pushing hard at the beginning of the process, planning process this year, for a trust panel. I didn't get my trust panel, but I was heard, and throughout the day, I kind of smiled to myself when I heard trust mentioned in various different aspects of conversation. So even though there wasn't necessarily a trust panel, I was influential in some way in the development of the program. And then third, I think the multi-stakeholder process really can educate people who are not in this room. People watching online today or later have the opportunity to kind of learn about emerging issues, and maybe this will spur them to get involved and try and help improve how the internet works. We all know that the internet is very important to day-to-day life, and internet governance is the thing that helps the internet work better. So in closing in my little comments, I want to say IGF is very important. IGF-USA is very important. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your continued support, and thank you for coming today. Thank you.
Not sure if you can see me behind this. I'm not a tall person. I'm here today to recognize Manu Bhardwaj, who is a friend to many of us and a colleague to many of us. He was passionate about internet access and connectivity, and he sadly passed away this month at the age of 39. So Manu worked, he was a lawyer, he was a telecom lawyer, he was really interested in how people could connect the dots. He worked at the State Department, and he was the driving force of Global Connect. He was a sheer force of will that brought everyone together, and he made it happen. He was very engaged in our community. As you can see here, this is Shane's picture from IGF 2015 in Joao-Pessoa. We went to many IGFs, and he was always very active at all of them. He was very active here at IGF-USA. But he really was ready to take it to the next level. So with Marilyn Cade's support, he ran to join the IGF Support Association and was elected at the last meeting in Geneva, where we got to help him deliver his speech. And he was so excited about it. He was so excited to work with all of us, and he was fun. I mean, so it wasn't just about the work. We all had just a great time. I think all of us can talk about a different story we had, really like laughing with Manu. And he was a very avid Democrat, and it was very political on that front, and recognized how to work across the aisle. I was a Republican staffer, and we worked very closely together. And when the new administration came in, we went to the White House together to talk about ways the new administration could take Global Connect forward, really build on it, and really increase connectivity as part of the practice. So he was a very practical political person. So I thought we could just take a moment for those of us that that were friends with Manu, to just take a moment to remember him. And for those of us that didn't have a chance to meet Manu, to think about what we might be doing in our lives to really help take forward his passion for connectivity and for making the world better. So just a quick moment. Thank you.
Hey everyone, so I also want to take a moment to remember a dear friend and colleague that we've lost in the past year, David Vyorst. This loss is still really fresh, and this year's IGF-USA just didn't feel the same without having David here and his energy and his passion. For those of you that didn't know David, he served as a co-chair of the IGF-USA for 3 years, 2014 to 2017. And during that time, he brought just a tremendous amount of passion and energy that he poured into this process that made for a better program and event each and every year. And in many ways, this legacy that he created is living on in today's event. David would have loved the program today. Ultimately, however, David's legacy in the internet world is far greater than his impact on events like the IGF-USA. It was all about the people that he touched during his time with ISOC DC and the IGF-USA. David was all about the people and the community. He was dedicated to bringing in more voices into the discussion, and he was a strong advocate for things like youth engagement. He had an amazing ability to make newcomers not only feel welcome, but like they belonged in the process. I know that David had a tremendous impact on the journeys of many people here in this room, and I am most definitely included in that group. I mean, I think my experience with him is a perfect example of just who he was. I met him on my first ever trip out to the East Coast a few years ago, and a few weeks later, just talked with him on the phone, said that I was thinking of getting more involved, and he said, come to DC, I'll give you opportunities, and next thing I know, I'm in my car driving from Washington State to Washington, DC, and sure enough, you know, he provided me with all of the opportunities that he said he would, and you know, it might seem like putting a lot of faith in what was essentially a stranger at the time, but that's just who David was, somebody that made you feel welcome, like you belonged, like you could contribute, and you know, he just had this unique ability to do that. And you know, whether it's taking people out to his favorite taco place or just calling them to check in, I've been inspired to hear so many of these similar stories for the role that David has played in being a rock of support, not only for so many of us individually, but us as a larger community. And it was this ability that, you know, made David such a powerful leader in the IGF-USA and enabled him to bring so many people together to put on successful events like the one we had today. And I'm definitely going to miss that inevitable call that I would have got tomorrow to discuss, you know, how the IGF-USA 2018 went. But I know that he would have been really proud of the show that we all put on this year. If we could also just, you know, take a moment to remember David's contributions. Thanks. And before I transition, I just want to mention that we've been working with the Internet Society to establish a memorial fellowship in David's name to support youth engagement within the internet community. And if you're interested in being a part of this or contributing to it, you can reach out to myself or John Moore. So now I also get to transition into discussing a new initiative that we started this year for the IGF-USA. And it's part of our expansion and trying to grow the audience of the IGF-USA beyond DC. And I actually think that this is, you know, a fitting transition because, you know, this road trip had David's influence written all over it. And it's very much in line with his approach to internet governance. And, you know, he was all about the people and community, and that's what this initiative is all about. So I'm gonna take a moment to change the slide. Normally I'm doing this for other people. So, yeah, so this year in May, ahead of the main IGF-USA event that we're all at right now, we had an initiative where basically I hopped in my car, and much like I did a few weeks after I first met David, I drove from Washington State to Washington, DC, and we organized IGF-USA On the Road events all across the country. We had events in San Francisco on content moderation and platform liability. We had a roundtable with the community at Arizona State University Law School in Phoenix. We visited the Santa Ana Pueblo in New Mexico to talk about the state of the internet in Indian country and how we can engage indigenous voices and taking an active role in the evolution of the internet. And then also stopped in New York to talk about the different community network initiatives that are happening there. And, you know, it was great to work with all of these new communities. And I just want to say thank you to a lot of the people that helped out with that, a lot of whom are in this room. And if they're not in the room right now, they were part of some of the panels earlier, especially the connectivity panel, which brought in an unprecedented number of new voices into the IGF-USA, and this is the type of thing that we're really emphasizing moving forward and making the IGF-USA a truly national initiative that really engages and grows the audience outside of DC. And this is something that we hope to continue doing, to continue growing and having similar initiatives. I don't know that I can hop in my car and drive for a full month every single year, but we are happy to, you know, have shorter trips. We're looking at the Northeast corridor next with an event in Boston and maybe in the Hudson Valley. So if you happen to be interested in hosting something in that region to engage a new audience, we would love to hear about what you have in mind. And then we're also looking at something out in the Pacific Northwest, which hopefully we can make happen. But yeah, it was a good trip, and one thing that I noticed is that there is definitely a demand and an audience that wants to be a part of this discussion and this process. So every place that I stopped and every event that I had, inevitably there were several more meetings, events, roundtables that grew out of it organically without any outreach ahead of time, which shows the amount of passion and the amount of, you know, untapped engagement that we have out there. So, you know, just from these pictures here, you can see Jolly, who is our live streaming guru. We packed up all of his live streaming equipment into the car and drove him out to an event, and then yes. But yeah, this is something that we hope to continue to grow and continue to engage people across the country. So that's pretty much all I have. I do want to take a little bit of exception with what Shane said about me doing 99% of the work, because there are a lot of people in this room that did a lot of work, and especially some new faces that it was great to have engaged and even leading panels. And, you know, so there were a lot of people that contributed, but, you know, I would like to draw some attention to Rob Winterton and Ashkin Kazarian for being some young, active contributors to the IGF-USA. And thank you to all of the volunteers that helped make today possible. And I didn't see this coming, but I happened to have an amazing volunteer that basically saved my life. So Cedra, who's an intern with Access Now, thank you so much.
Thanks.
So while I did put in a little bit of effort, it would not be possible without everybody in this room. So with that, I will hand it back over to Shane and let her close out the day.
All right, so 2018, this part is a wrap, but as you just heard, we were hoping to do regional events, so be thinking about that. Even if you are based in DC, if you have somebody who may want to participate, we're going to look to take this dialogue and make it year-long with the idea of making this the report in at the end of the year and get more people included. So please think about that and join us in those conversations. And now you have to go do your panel discussions out there with a cocktail. Thank you all very much.